Thanks for tuning in to Small Steps to Wellbeing, or Small Steps as I often refer to it. If you like what you hear, then check out the channel every so often for a new episode. And if you have any feedback or would like my insight on a specific topic, then reach out and let me know. Please be aware that the information shared in this podcast does not represent definitive health recommendations or advice. So you should consult a professional before making any significant changes to your lifestyle. Hello and welcome to this episode of Small Steps to Wellbeing with me, your host, Stephen Davis from Interactive Therapy. Today's episode is going to focus on language and is called the language we use to refer to ourselves. So let's get going. Language is ubiquitous in the world and defined as a principal method of human communication consisting of words used in a structured and conventional way and conveyed by speech, writing, and gesture. It can be understood in broad general contexts and sometimes only within specific groups or cultures. We use language to define and categorize. We assign words to everything. And with those words comes understanding, meaning, interpretation. We also use language to communicate with others. And the message that we send out through our language is hopefully received and interpreted by a receiver or receivers of that language. Language can unify. It can also divide. And language can also be used to clarify and categorize ourselves, with it building over time as we acquire more sophisticated language to describe our experiences and help us define who we are, what we stand for, and how we feel. Language usage can be adapted and changed dependent on the context in which we find ourselves. So we may use different language when we're talking to our boss, to a parent, or to a partner, friend, to a child, or someone that we're mentoring, such as a colleague or a student. Language can be used in many ways, and I will look to expand on some of these uses in future small steps to well-being. Focus will include the use of language as either a positive or negative tool, how language can be seen as a reflection of our upbringing, shown when we repeat phrases heard spoken by a parent, peer, or important role model in our lives, and the use of language during performance or when trying to exert dominance. Language can be spoken or written, can be performed in the form of a song, ritual, or chant, can be signed, signalled, and even displayed, hence references to the term body language. But again, the form is dependent on the context or audience. It can be used to gain information or assistance from another and is increasingly being used anonymously, predominantly online, in response to another person's opinions or behaviour. Some of my listeners may also speak multiple languages or live in a mixed language household. So in these cases, the language may be influenced by cherry-picking specific suitable words from one language that doesn't necessarily translate into the other one. As I've hopefully demonstrated, language is a foundational part of the human culture, which leads me to the small steps exercise that I would encourage you to carry out today. So what I'm asking you to do is to focus on self-directed language and to determine what words or gestures you use when referring to yourself. When considering this exercise, ask yourself some of the following questions, which could include: what words would you use to describe your character? So, for example, maybe you'd say, I am happy, or I am introverted, I am lonely, I am a loser, or I am ambitious. Now try not to think only in terms of the words that define the character, but then go a little bit deeper and think about examples which may represent you embodying that particular word. Then think about how you describe your skills, whether they be related to your career, to your hobbies, or to your day-to-day roles. And do you describe yourself differently in private to how you may describe yourself to others? Finally, another question to ask is to think of a highlight in your life and consider which words you would use to describe what happened and the impact that it had on yourself or others. I hope you find this exercise useful and look forward to you listening to another episode again in the future. All the best. Thanks for listening to Small Steps to Wellbeing. I hope you will be able to make use of the information and exercises in this podcast on your own pathway to well-being. Don't forget to come back again soon. Bye for now.